Talk a little bit more about that mega camp. Obviously, that was a huge camp.
Yeah.
You had schools from all over the country, converging upon Tallahassee, converging upon the practice fields, huge event going on. Talk about what you saw and how much is that going to help Florida State's recruiting coming up for the class of 22 and beyond?
I think it's good to kind of just remind people, and definitely the state of Florida, that Florida State's still here. I think the last 5 years or so, it's kind of slimmed down a little bit. There hasn't been a lot of talk about FSU. It makes sense. The records haven't been pretty. The play on the field hasn't even been fun to watch, even for FSU fans that like to keep updated with everything. But bringing all of these kids, over 3,000 kids, over to by the rec fields right across from College Town. They get to see the stadium, and they're also doing stuff inside Doak. They're on the practice fields at the Dunlap's field inside the IPF too. It's just huge to kind of get a lot of these younger recruits, even some elite guys that were also in attendance, to come and be there and be around the staff, work hard. And I think it's just a main thing to kind of remind people Florida State is here. That's what Mike Norvell is trying to do. And he's trying to network. I think he's a big networking guy, and he's got a lot of the former Noles coming over to help coach some of these. I know Carlos Williams was there. Our guy Carlos was there earlier today. He was mainly there for his cousin, but a lot of these guys are coming in attendance and helping out, or at least going to do some things with some of the coaches, and even the current players are helping out. So it's just another way to kind of keep things rolling. There's not really a stale period I've seen since the season's ended that Mike Norvell isn't sitting around, just twiddling his thumbs. I think it's been a pretty big success, and it's still got a long ways to go though.
Ronan, if you're going to bash us, at least give us your 1378, please. We'd appreciate it. If you're going to bash our horse, bash our mascot, everything, please at least give us your 1378. That's all we're asking. Give it to Mark. What's that?
He said the channel must be doing good because he did eventually find us. I haven't seen him in a little bit.
Mazel tov. Thank you, Ronan. It must be early over there in Scotland.
Now, Georgia Ron, I get it. You can recruit out of your minds, and if you don't win the games on the field, it doesn't matter. But you have to recruit. That precedes the winning. You've got to go out and recruit. So it does matter. Yes, if you continue to recruit out of your mind and it never pays off on the field, yes, it's not going to matter. But Mike Norvell took over close to a dumpster fire, and he's just trying to build it up to a certain point. So he's got to recruit first before he can win the games.
MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Watch it. Watch your comments.
Don't talk too much about Willie.
It's still our dumpster fire. We're still loyal to this dumpster fire over here. I think Georgia.
I said close to a dumpster fire. I held back.
Hey, I think Georgia Ron's point, though, in a little bit, and I'm going to throw a little shade at Logan, just a tad, but I'm not entirely meaning to throw Logan under the bus on this one. But we do this a lot here. I'm guilty of it. Logan's guilty of it, where we get hyped up about recruits when they commit, when they put Florida State in their top group. But things can change. And Logan, to his credit, and James has also said this too, James Coleman, if he ever comes back to us here, has made it very clear. It's nothing until they sign a piece of paper. So we can sit there, we've got a great recruiting class for the class of 2022. What happens if this program goes 6-6 this season, or worse, which we need to realize could possibly happen? Do those recruits stick around? I think Travis Hunter sticks around, but do a lot of these recruits, big name recruits, stick around? That's why it's so easy to get hyped, and then so easy to get disappointed when Sam Howell leaves to go to North Carolina, when a recruit decommits from FSU and goes to Miami or goes to Maryland or goes somewhere like that. That's what I think Georgia Ron is saying right there. And Logan has said this before. If Florida State is entering the Clemson game 8 of the season, with a 3-4 record or a 4-3 record with Clemson, NC State, Miami, Boston College, and Florida left on the schedule, all games that Florida State could easily lose. I don't think they will, but those Florida State could lose all 5 of those games. That's where the trouble comes in. That's why Florida State has to stockpile those wins so early in the season.
Jason, you, on a regular basis, will throw out win totals and say, I need to see this kind of progress. I need to see whatever you've said in the past. I don't know if it was 7-5, something in that range, and then said this will be a disappointment, this will be an achievement, etc. What if they don't meet your win standard this year, but he brings in a top 10 recruiting class and signs it? That's, finalized.
I'll say this. I'm hesitant with recruiting classes because not so much during the Willie Taggart almost dumpster fire years, to use your term, but in 2017, Jimbo Fisher's last season before he abandoned ship was the top recruiting class in the ACC, was a top 10 recruiting class. And that team went 6-6 in the regular season. So it has happened. To me, you can bring in all these great recruiting classes and it doesn't mean anything. That's why I'm hesitant. I think that we've got a good group of guys coming in. I think if this class stays together, I think Travis Hunter has the potential to be a very good recruit. A couple of the kids from the Lakeland area that we're getting, we've got some kids from South Florida who are still committed to the group. I think we'll be fine. It is just there has to be the hesitation. I feel like you have to see some turnaround. Whether I'm not saying this team has to go 10-2 or 9-3, but give me a 7-5. Give me a 7-5 as a good start after going 3-6. I would love us to go 9-3, but I think 7-5 is a more realistic one.
The recruiting class does matter, though.
It matters.
It matters a lot.
But look at that 2017 class, and look what that 2017
I know, there are outliers.
19, 20.
Yes, Texas is an outlier. Wisconsin's an outlier. Texas has been bringing in top 5 to 10 recruiting classes for the last 10 or 11 years and have done nothing with them but go 7-5 every year. Mm-hmm. Wisconsin brings in top 40 recruiting classes and they almost finish in the top 10 to 15 every year in the nation. Those are the outliers. But generally, the recruiting rankings matter a lot.
I think mainly for this upcoming season, it's gigantic. Definitely, we've talked about. I think we did last week a little bit about the first game against Notre Dame and how I think that it needs to be competitive heading into the fourth quarter for a lot of these guys. Even like a guy that's committed still, Sean McCall, who is Alabama's heavily after. A lot of SEC schools are after him. You're looking at Jalil Skinner, who's now rated the #1 tight end. He was at FSU this entire week with Travis Hunter, holding hands, staying in the same. They were rooming together that whole week. They were doing photo shoots together. Like it was just these kind of guys. You want to either Jalil, you want to get him to commit because the big one for him is definitely between Alabama, also potentially Florida. They have a lot of good advertising they can use there after Kyle Pitts' big season. So you want to kind of you got to look at some kind of competitive. There's even there's a good amount of momentum that Florida State is on, but I'm still wondering if how long is it going to be until like really Florida State has to play a game and some of these guys say screw it. I see what Norvell is doing with this vision. I keep hearing it. It sounds amazing, but how it looks on the field is going to be the biggest key, because you can get a lot of these guys, but then shoot, if it starts dwindling down and it gets bad during the season, then I think you lose a good amount because Florida State has the momentum. It's really going to end up coming to this first game because there's going to be a ton of, we're talking over 100 recruits at this game on a Sunday night, prime time, Labor Day weekend. There's going to be tons. It's the only game practically playing then. There's going to be so many top tier recruits that Florida State is going to have in attendance. It's going to be ridiculous. Gotta look competitive. If it goes into the half and this game is already over, like we've kind of seen in the past, it could all crumble.
And if you don't think Notre Dame's going to use as an excuse to recruit on FSU's dime, they'll be sitting there right there, just like Logan said. If they're kicking our butt up and down the field, I guarantee you, Ryan Kelly and those assistants are going to be looking at the recruits saying, "Come to South Bend." So that's a free recruiting trip for those guys right there. But that's why there's that 3-game stretch of Wake Forest on the 18th of September, Louisville on the 25th, and Syracuse on October 2nd. That, to me, is the most important 3-game stretch. Because we all know that most likely, and before people label me a Florida State hater, Logan and I will be inside Luke Campbell on that Sunday night, chopping it up, rooting for the Noles. But I think, theoretically, we can say Florida State will more than likely lose to Notre Dame. Florida State will also more than likely beat Jacksonville State the following week. Florida State on paper should beat Wake Forest, should beat Louisville, should beat Syracuse. On paper, Florida State should be 4-1 heading to that North Carolina game. This is also a Florida State team that has played down to opponents last season, 2019, 2018, even you could argue 2017, played down to the level of their opponents. So while we think Florida State should win those 3 games, does Florida State choke in both? That's going to be the question right there. Does Florida State going to North Carolina a 4-1 team looking like they're almost back? Or do they come in 3-2, 2-3, and you're thinking, like Logan said, here we go again?
Okay, want to clarify something here. Georgia Ron, appreciate you being here. Yeah, I understand 3-6 doesn't move me, Mark. I totally get it. I agree with you. All that matters in the end, wins and losses. But the point I'm making is Mike Norvell's in his second season. This is his first full recruiting cycle. Really the second one he has ownership of. Like if he was 5 years into this, if he was Charlie Strong, still bringing in the 7th best class in the nation, the 4th best class in the nation, and going 5-7, 7-5, then you say, you know what? We've seen it year after year. You bringing in these great recruiting classes, and you're not producing on the field means nothing to me. But we just haven't seen it out of Norvell. He doesn't have the time in yet. So yes, the wins and losses ultimately, absolutely, Georgia Ron. I don't want to misconstrue or have you misconstrue what I'm stating here. The wins and losses mean everything. That's why we are here to see these teams, Florida State on this channel, win the games, win championships. Yes.
Logan has used the pandemic excuse before in defending his BFF, his bestie, Mike Norvell, and it's fine. I get it. I understand where he's coming from. And I do think that there has to be a certain amount of I don't want to say a pass. I don't think Mike Norvell gets a pass for last season because everyone went through it and it seemed to do just fine for a lot of these other schools. That being said, that's why this year is so important. If Florida State is a 7-5 team, you can see, like Logan talked about, you see that improvement. If Florida State is limping to a 6-6 finish or has a losing season for the 4th straight season, then we're in trouble.